Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and this video a like up. As Paramount maps out the future of Star Trek, a new film will be released in 2026. The sci-fi franchise has been going strong since the original series debuted in 1966 with William Shatner as Captain Kirk, Leonard Nimoy as Spock, D. Forrest Kelly as M.C. Coy, Nichelle Nichols as Nyota Uhura, and George Takei as Sulu. Several of the original cast members returned to the franchise in movies like Star Trek, The Motion Picture, The Wrath of Khan, The Search for Spock, The Voyage Home, The Final Frontier, and The Undiscovered Country. Now there's a new documentary called Beam Me Up, Sulu, being released on digital platforms on February 17, 2026. The film will explore Takei's iconic and groundbreaking character through the lens of a student film from 1985 that was seemingly lost to history, according to T.H.R. Timur Gregory and Sasha Schneider, who directed Beam Me Up, Sulu, wanted to create a documentary to figure out why people care so much about Star Trek. They realized that the common denominator is infinite diversity in infinite combinations, which is an essential element of the entire Star Trek franchise since the start. The students who created the fan film spent 35 years working on their project, and Takei himself ended up appearing in it. Echoing the documentary directors, the actor who brought Sulu to life beginning in the 1960s said in a statement that Beam Me Up, Sulu is about the importance of diversity and inclusion. Takei went on to say that in the current political climate, diversity and inclusion in pop culture are more important than ever. Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry purposefully hired a diverse cast for Star Trek, the original series. It was a groundbreaking show for several reasons, including Takei and Nichols signing on as Sulu and Uhura, respectively. A Japanese-American man and a black woman on a high-profile series like Star Trek was pretty much unheard of at the time, not to mention the fact that their characters were in prominent roles on the show. Each subsequent Star Trek TV show has included a racially diverse cast to continue Roddenberry's mission of diversity and inclusion. Takei isn't the only person associated with Star Trek who will be featured in Beam Me Up, Sulu. Roddenberry's son, Eugene Roddenberry, is also participating, as are Alexander Siddig, Christina Chong, Garrett Wang, and Ian Alexander. Gregory and Schneider aren't just the directors. They also produced Beam Me Up, Sulu with Matthew Drake and Ashu Rai. Tribeca Films already debuted the Star Trek documentary at the 2025 Raindance Film Festival back in June in London. Now a wider audience will get the chance to hear directly from Takei about a profound moment that changed his life. For the first time in nearly a decade, the stars are aligning, the warp engines are humming, and excitement is rippling through every quadrant of Trek fandom. After years of false starts, abandoned scripts, and whispers that the Kelvin timeline was permanently marooned in space dock, a brand new Star Trek film is officially set to release next year. And unlike all the projects that fizzled before it, this one feels not only real, but momentous. Paramount didn't simply announce a release date, they sparked a resurgence. Overnight, conversations lit up across social media as fans dissected every scrap of information and speculated about what this new cinematic era could bring. The franchise may have thrived on streaming for years, but Trek on the big screen has always been a different kind of mission, a bold leap into cinematic frontier that pushes visual, thematic, and emotional boundaries. A long road getting from there to here. The last time a Star Trek movie beamed into theaters was 2016's Star Trek Beyond, a critical success that unfortunately arrived during a period of corporate change and scheduling chaos. The cast loved their roles, fans adored the film, and the studio wanted more, but development kept falling into temporal anomalies. Scripts came and went. Directors boarded and departed. Quentin Tarantino flirted with a wild, alternate timeline noir Trek. Noah Hawley nearly launched a new cast. Matt Shakman prepped a return to the Kelvin crew before leaving for Marvel. For a while, it seemed inevitable that Star Trek's cinematic future would remain a ghost signal, broadcasting hope, but never materializing. Now, though, the signal is clear. The course is plotted. The next film is happening, and insiders say pre-production is moving at warp. What we know so far, and what we don't. Paramount remains cautious. Trek films are notoriously complex undertakings, but the studio did confirm 3 critical things. The film is set for release next year. It will usher in a new era for Star Trek theatrical storytelling. Key creative leadership is already locked in. They're being intentionally vague, but the phrasing hints at something ambitious. A new era suggests this may not be a simple continuation of the Kelvin timeline, nor a total reboot. Instead, rumors point to a pre-Federation or early Federation setting, a period ripe for cinematic storytelling yet lightly explored on screen. Reports from production insiders suggest the film may center on the earliest days of Starfleet, decades, perhaps even centuries before Kirk's 5-year mission. This could allow the film to build a fresh cast, a fresh ship, and a fresh mythology without being beholden to continuity constraints. Imagine the first Warp 5 refit starships before the NX-01. Imagine Earth's uneasy alliances as the Federation begins to form. Imagine exploring the wild frontier when the galaxy was even more mysterious, uncharted, and dangerous. That sound you hear? That's a million Trekkies whispering, "Yes, please." The return of cinematic Star Trek style. One thing that has fans buzzing is the promise of a renewed cinematic identity. Whereas previous Trek films leaned heavily on explosive action, early descriptions indicate this new film will blend classic Star Trek philosophical depth, high-stakes exploration, character-driven storytelling, visual spectacle that goes far beyond streaming TV budgets. If the streaming era has given us anything, it's a renaissance of rich, episodic Trek worlds. Discovery, Picard, Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, Prodigy. But none of them can match the grandeur of a film budget, where starships feel colossal, alien worlds feel impossibly real, and the unknown feels genuinely vast. The new film promises to take full advantage of that. One insider described the early concept art as majestic, ancient, and awe-inspiring, hinting at encounters with civilizations that predate even the oldest known galactic powers. Imagine something older than the Vulcan High Command, older than the Preservers, older than the Iconians. This is the kind of cosmic grandeur that mainstream audiences love, and Trek hasn't explored on the big screen since the motion picture. If the franchise blends that scope with modern cinematic pacing, Star Trek could reclaim its unique space in sci-fi cinema. Cast announcement incoming? While Paramount is keeping its cast list under tight lock and key, negotiations are reportedly in progress with several rising stars. Unlike previous attempts, the new film isn't relying on established actors to anchor the brand. Instead, it's following a familiar Trek formula. Find relatively unknown but talented performers and let the franchise elevate them. This aligns with what insiders say. The story focuses on a new Starfleet crew experiencing first contact scenarios never recorded in Federation history. Some leaks, still unconfirmed, suggest the film features a brilliant but arrogant young astrophysicist thrust into command, a Vulcan science officer who questions Starfleet's early direction, a rugged, rebellious engineer from Luna, a mysterious alien navigator with ties to a pre-Federation exploration program. If true, that suggests a crew unlike any we've seen before, one built not on legacy, but on tension, uncertainty, and discovery. Why fans are more hopeful than skeptical this time? 7 years ago, news of a new Trek film might have been met with cautious optimism. Now, fans are openly excited. Why? Because this announcement feels like the first Trek movie since 2009 with genuine momentum behind it. The difference is timing. Trek is in a healthy creative era, arguably one of its best since the 90s. The franchise has multiple successful shows, a thriving fan base, and a studio finally willing to invest in long-term world building. More importantly, Trek's cultural relevance is rising again. Viewers are craving thoughtful sci-fi, stories about hope, unity, exploration, and moral complexity. That's Trek's home turf. And in a theater setting, those themes become larger than life. A new frontier awaits. Next year, audiences will sit in dark theaters once more, listening to the quiet hum of anticipation before that familiar sound begins. The rising swell of a Starfleet theme, the distant twinkling of stars, the promise of bold adventure. Will the film spark a new trilogy? A new expanded universe? A new phase of interconnected stories across film and streaming? Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.